Eternal punishment is not a reward for normal mistakes. Eternal punishment is a reward for a life lived on the basis of mistakes, a life encumbered by mistakes, a life completely drowned in mistakes. You see, the Quran clearly says that that the hellfire is the abode for those who rejected the truth. Who rejected the truth means that who were bent upon rejection, who were bent upon going against the directives of God, even after they were told, even after they were convinced, even after the truth had become manifest upon them. It is not a punishment for misunderstanding. It is not a punishment for not understanding correctly. It is a punishment for understanding correctly and yet going against it. It is not a punishment or a reward for committing a mistake once or twice or a number of times in your life. It is a reward for your attitude after you have committed that mistake. Were you arrogant about your mistakes even? Or were you repentful? It is possible that a person repents his mistakes, but then again indulges in the same thing, and yet repents again, and this cycle goes on. But it is not what will make you deserving of eternal punishment. What makes you deserving of eternal punishment is that you become unmindful of your attitude towards God, unmindful of your attitude towards other human beings. If you're unmindful of that, and this is your attitude, then this limited life is enough to tell you that this attitude would have continued even if you had an eternal life. So this is how God judges. I mean, it is not a small punishment that you would commit for which you will be given eternal punishment or eternal reward. It is your attitude of rightfulness or your attitude of wrongfulness that makes you deserving of punishment. But then again, I'm not suggesting that everybody will either be eternally punished or eternally rewarded. What I think is that there are only a few specific kinds of criminals whom God says that they shall always eternally be placed into hellfire. Whether they would be living in hellfire or they would be just thrown away in hellfire into extinction, this is something that we should not be too confident about. We should leave it to God. I mean, we should know that we should have confidence in the fact that we are dealing with a just and merciful God. And because of that, we do not expect that any punishment would go beyond what the criminal deserves. Every criminal will only get what he deserves. And we should be more concerned about ourselves. We should be more mindful of what will be our own destiny. We do not want it to be that way. We want it to be in the mercy of God, in the shadows of His mercy, rather than in punishment, whether eternal or even temporary. So when we say that there will be criminals who shall be, deserving of eternal punishment, we are actually talking about a very specific kind of people. God says that He might forgive any crime other than ascribing partners to Him. And that is the crime that He will not forget, irrespective. He will never forget that. That is what He promises. So I think it is quite possible that only those who were guilty of ascribing partners to God, knowingly, I mean again that was not a mistake on their part, it was knowingly ascribing partners to God, that would be punishable by an eternal punishment. The rest of the people, sometimes we get angry, sometimes we get emotional, sometimes we get sentimental, and we commit something which we understand to be incorrect. It has happened to everybody. There's no exception. Nobody is perfect over here. And therefore, we should be desiring God's mercy for ourselves and for them as well. But there are people about whom God says that He won't forgive them irrespective. And it is probably only those people who will be put into eternal hellfire.